Oh man, that ending. That ending was something else. That ending was something else, dude. Now, I am like most people. I don't like the ending for Tag their own tone. Pretty much like everyone else. I'm not saying anything different here. All I'm saying really, all I'm here to do is really just kind of paint a different picture about like what this map was supposed to be and what it could have been and what we actually got, because I think it's actually completely different. And I was watching, I don't have the actual map myself, because I don't have a PS4. Well, I do, but I don't have Black Ops 4 on it, and much less I don't have the season pass on that, because that's fucking cancer. So I haven't gotten to play the map myself. I watched like the main like zombie guys kind of do the Easter egg. I watched like Noah J and Mr. Raffle Waffles. I watched all of those guys kind of do the Easter egg for the first time, and watch their playthrough and watch them beat it in 5 fucking hours, like in one of the most simple Easter eggs of all time. Like this was the most like brain dead Easter egg I think of, like I've ever seen in my life. Like, but yeah, I was watching those guys, and when they beat it, I was just like, my god, like this map is empty. Like, it's just so empty, and there was so much going on in this map, like, or supposed to be going on in this map, and somehow this manages to be like the most empty map in the entirety of zombies history. Like Alpha Omega, I think Alpha Omega was supposed to be a part of the story, whereas I don't think Call of the Dead was supposed to be a part of the story. I don't know if it was always supposed to be Nuketown, but I know it was supposed to be a part of the story because there was a lot going on in that map. Not gameplay wise, but story wise, there was a lot going on in that map, right? Like, just being there, and then all the story with Cornelius and the Avogadro, the origin of the Avogadro, that's fucking huge. There's so much going on in that map, and I feel like they planned that. That's because they had planned that map. They had planned it ahead of time. They knew that this was going to be an important piece of the puzzle for the overall ending, right? Because I mean, why would you bring back Peter McCain? Why would you like make up all of these like story threads if you're not gonna use them? Like, why would you bring up the Avogadro again if you're not gonna use it? Why would you bring up Peter McCain again if you're not gonna use it? Why would you bring up what was this guy's name, Gersh? Why would you bring him back if you're not gonna use him? You use them from one map, and then he goes away into the fucking into nothingness, and then we're just expecting all of this to kind of climax into this big like end game Avengers like assemble kind of thing, where everybody from the zombies universe will just kind of collide to fight at this fucking war and finally save the world. But none of that happens. That's the problem. None of that happens. And then we arrive to Call of the Dead, and it's like, oh, one, you're playing as Victus, which boggles my mind, and two, there's nothing that actually goes on in this map. All of that stuff we built up, none of it will matter. None of it will actually, be of any use or any importance in the overall story. So it just, I don't know. It just feels pretty bad, to be honest. This is gonna be probably like plastered all over the fucking video. This was not supposed to be the ending, for sure. And the reason why I started like thinking this was because I saw Noah J, like once they finished the thing, he came onto the call with the other guys, and they were having like a discussion about the ending, and he comes in and he says, yeah, I think this is the ending we were building up to since Black Ops 3. And I swear to God, I'm not joking, I've never been so triggered in my life. I like Noah J. He's like one of my favorite like zombies YouTubers, but that single statement like single-handedly like shit me, like made me shit my fucking pants. Dude, I was sitting here, I haven't been so triggered since Game of Thrones. Like, actually, like, first things first, addressing that whole like, no, this was supposed to be the ending thing. I very strongly disagree with that. I don't think this was supposed to be the ending. In fact, I think this was like Activision bending the arms of like the developers. Like, you have to, like, you cannot we don't have money for you. You're just gonna fucking make the stupidest, like, yes, it's gonna be a remake, which we already planned on making anyway. On Chronicles 2, we were already planning on doing that anyway. So just make it a real map. It doesn't matter. Just fucking make it a real map. They won't give a shit. We don't give a shit. We're already making Black Ops 5, bro. What the fuck do you think we care? It's very obvious to me that this was not ever supposed to be the real ending, because the real ending would not have Victus in it. Primarily, like, I mean, that's just first and foremost. Like, I love Victus and I'm glad to see him back, but let's be real. The real ending would never be with Victus. I mean, the fact alone that it is with Victus should tell you this is not this. There was something wrong here, right? There was something very wrong here, and now there were a couple of leaks in the early days of Black Ops 4, and I for some reason I can't seem to find the exact video I'm looking for talking about the exact leaks, but I know they leaked Nuketown, and I know there was like a big leak when a dude like kind of got fired from the QA testing or whatever, and he leaked like basically every fucking map. And I don't remember. I think he talked about Call of the Dead as well being a remake, and Nuketown. He said Nuketown for sure, and then Call of the Dead was like maybe, right? And yeah, it kind of fortifies my belief that Call of the Dead kind of wasn't supposed to be a part of the story, because I mean they would have known. They've known the ending to zombies for a long time. At least I hope they did, because considering they've been building up to it and leaving hints about what's going to happen, you know, Primus prevails or Primus fails, you know, Ultimus prevails, you know, all that stuff. You know, they kind of had an idea of the ending. So the fact that Call of the Dead wasn't a surefire thing, and the fact that it's with Primus again, or with Victus again, it's just like mind boggles me. It just makes no sense. Like it literally makes no sense, like from a storyline perspective, to make this the final map. Like there's just nothing that happens in this map. Like nothing. I mean, important stuff happens in this map for sure. Like I think the purpose, like we were building up Victus to get used again, right? There's a reason why they were put in the ice chambers, right? Like they were supposed to be used at some point again, for sure, right? And I think this was the right purpose. I think this was a pretty big purpose for Victus to fulfill, for sure. Like I think this was Victus's last kind of hurrah, for sure. I think this was the map for Victus. But again, I don't think this was supposed to be the final map of the Ether storyline. It just makes no sense. Victus is just like a small part of Victus, or of the Ether. Like it's not ever supposed to be the main thing. And for all the marketing and all of the things they did with I mean throughout the entire Black Ops 4 season and since the beginning, and I guess cutting out Chaos from there and kind of moving on to like all of Ether, they were always putting this idea in your head. This is the end. You know, the paradox must be resolved. This has to be. This is the final fight. You know, this is the final thing. This is the ending. You know, we're building up to a climax here. You know, that's literally what they were building up to. And just putting aside the fact that this was not a climax, this was the most anticlimactic thing I've ever seen in my life since Game of Thrones season 8. Like actually, like this was the most anticlimactic, most disappointing, most empty fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. But just following that line of logic again, just trying to disprove that this was supposed to be the actual map. Just following that line of logic, the paradox must be resolved, right? I mean, in one way, the paradox was resolved for sure. I think very much like Game of Thrones. I'm gonna keep comparing Game of Thrones to Black Ops here, to zombies here. But very much like Game of Thrones, I think this was always supposed to be the end. And spoilers for Game of Thrones, if you guys haven't seen season 8, which I mean I recommend you don't. But if you have like the main character be a Targaryen, and like her entire story is kind of getting back to the throne, and there's a reason why her entire story kind of resembles Aegon the Conqueror's story so much, is because she's supposed to be the new Aegon the Conqueror. She's supposed to give rebirth to the Targaryen family. But the problem is that there's a moral kind of thing in there, right? It's an idea of like, well, if another Targaryen gets on the throne again, are things ever gonna change, right? Like the idea is that if she gets back on the throne, then the Targaryen dynasty will continue, and then pretty much history will repeat itself, and it will end up in again this kind of shitty society where, you know, where kind of rules are just kind of overlooked, and families, the wealthy families, kind of rule it all, right? And so the world was about, you know, the story was about kind of changing the world, right? Changing the world for a better, you know, for a better way, in a better way. And so I think Daenerys was always supposed to die, for sure. I think Daenerys was always supposed to be dead at the end. Very much the same here. I think Primus was always supposed to die. I mean, they built it up. They built it up throughout countless radios and countless everything. Like, there's supposed to be, you know, the famous line, you know, Primus will fail and Ultimus will prevail, right? Those famous lines built up the fact that Primus was always supposed to just die. They were never, like, because they were the ones perpetuating the cycle. So they have to get killed at some point. For sure, like they like, that cycle has to stop, and the reason why it has to stop is because of Primus. Primus are the ones perpetuating the cycle, but that also doesn't explain so many things. But then, even though that's supposed to happen, like, that doesn't answer everything else, right? Like, just because Primus dies, it doesn't mean that the storyline just stops. Like, Primus is linked to Ether, but isn't Ether. So just because, like, Primus dies, it doesn't mean that the Ether will stop. It doesn't mean that Dr. Monty will just cease to exist. It doesn't mean that the Shadow Man will just cease to exist. Like Primus has for sure impacted a lot of events in history, but it doesn't, just them being gone doesn't mean that it just completely makes everything just different. If anything, Primus being gone means that they lose the Great War, right? I mean, that's my understanding, right? If Primus is gone, that means that the Apothicons win the Great War. So if the Apothicons win the Great War, that means that everything is fucked. That means the world is actually worse than it actually was before. If anything, like, I mean, obviously kind of following their own kind of rules for the timeline. If they take out, again, I mean, time travel is kind of weird, and you know, the whole kind of cycle thing is kind of, you know, gets very kind of strange, obviously, because, you know, again, the question, the age-old question, you know, what came first, the chicken or the egg, right? It's, so if you kill Primus at this point in time, does that affect the point in time earlier? Because the point in time earlier was already Primus from the point in time now. So it's like, it gets very weird. It gets very weird because Primus, you know, Revelations Primus was supposed to go to the Great War, but what if you stop them to going from the Great War, but they were already at the Great War for you to get here already? So it's like, it's weird. It gets very strange, and honestly, my brain is not big enough to figure that out. But my point being is that, if anything, this completely fucks up the timeline. Like, if Primus being gone from the timeline actually causes a brand new timeline where everything is just fucked up, because if anything, they were the ones stopping the timeline from getting fucked up, right? Unless Monty decides to do the right thing, which I guess he does, right? They were building him up to be like, oh, he's not a bad guy, he's just, you know, he's just trying to survive, you know, which, I mean, whatever, you know, like, again, like, this is the ending we were building up to, you know, like, it's not like we were making him out to be a bad guy at all, you know. This is not, he's not a bad guy, guys, he's not a bad guy. But it's like, yeah, I mean, not only just the timeline concerns, but there's so many just in your face kind of things that they just never address, like Richtofen. Like we purposely killed Richtofen. Like I said earlier, like, Primus was always supposed to die, right? Because that's how you stop the cycle. So, but in my mind, I always thought it was Richtofen that just had to die, because he was the one that understood what was going on. He was the one that read the Chronorium. He was the one that kind of perpetuated everything, right? The other guys were really just there, just coming along, right? So when they killed Richtofen, I was like, holy shit, this is how they broke the cycle. Like, this is the cycle kind of being broken right here. But so that means that the other guys didn't really necessarily have to die. If the new Richtofen didn't come in and tell them, like, the post-Revelations Richtofen came in and told fucking Nikolai that he had to be the new guy. Like if he hadn't come in, like the cycle would have just been broken. Like it would have achieved the exact same thing they achieved at the ending of Tag der Toten. Like literally, if the post Revelations Richtofen never came in, it would have had the exact same impact, because none of the other guys knew what the fuck was going on anyway. So they had no way of perpetuating the cycle if they didn't know what the fuck was going on. So in my eyes, not only does that like not make sense, but again, the new Richtofen in Alpha Omega, like who, like they never answer this. Who the fuck is that Richtofen? Like they never answered that ever. And I'm just like, in my head, I'm just like, what? Like this is a big deal, guys. Like you have to end. This is a pretty big fucking deal, guys. Like my mind is just so boggled by the fact that they just never even addressed it. Like they never, like they addressed it in Alpha Omega, right? And they had countless lines of the characters interacting with this new Richtofen, and it was all basically like none of them could ever remember who this guy was. And I don't know about you guys, but that shit is like, that shit creeps me the fuck out. Like no one, like the fact that this guy just shows up and no one has any idea where he came from. Like all of them remember him dying and then he's just here. Like that's just fucking creepy, bro. Like I just imagine like Richtofen just like being a fucking ghost or some shit. Like I just imagine like a scary movie, like a horror movie, just like this guy just walking behind you, like this shadow just walking behind you. That's terrifying. And you like never realized it was there, but it was there all along. Like that's terrifying. Like that's scary as fuck. Like, are you kidding me? And they just never addressed it. Like what? That boggles my fucking mind. I have no idea. Like I don't understand. Like it's just shit like that just makes me think like this was not. There's no fucking way this was the ending. Like there's no fucking way. I mean, we can just go from there to like everything else, right? Like I mean, going back to the premise will fail and ultimates will prevail, right? I'm sorry, but does this look like they prevailed? Does this look like they prevailed? I'm sorry, but does this look like they prevailed? And then there's just randomly just zombie Richtofen just chilling there, just I don't know, just for shits and giggles really, because he gets shot 2 seconds later. But I mean, I'm sorry, like, again, like, you can't tell me that this is the ending that we're building up to when they were building up, you know, again, premise failing and ultimates prevailing, and then none of them prevail. Like, no one succeeds. It's just all of them ending the cycle. It's all of them just dying. Not even ending the cycle, because I think the cycle was broken when Richtofen died. When Richtofen died on Blood of the Dead, I think the cycle was already broken. I mean, the cycle was already broken before that. But after Richtofen died, it broke. It was for sure broken. It was for sure a new timeline was guaranteed. And then they brought in this new Richtofen that just, for some reason, knew what was going on and then didn't know what was going on. Like I don't fucking understand. Like it just makes no sense. It just makes no sense. I mean, they were always building up for this great war. Always. This was supposed to be the greatest war, you know, the greatest war of all time, and then they changed the meaning from great war to oh, the greatest war is the war we fight inside ourselves, which, I mean, I understand, like, it's not bad, like it's good. Again, this video, I want this video to basically stand as a testament to the absolute genius and the absolute like hard work that these people put in to like make this map and make it as good as they possibly could be. Like the map looks great. Call of Dead looks great. I mean, it's Call of Dead. There's nothing really to boast about, you know. It's just Call of Dead. Just from everything, like from a writing perspective alone, the fact that they have to do a fucking full 360 on this map to make it make sense in some sort of way without using any resources, because they were clearly not getting given any fucking resources to do this. The fact that they had to, like, the fact that they did this with what they had just stands as a testament to these fucking people. These people are fucking crazy. Craig Houston alone is a fucking genius. This guy is an absolute monster. Like, I don't know, like wow, like I'm baffled by the things this guy can do with a pen. Like it baffles me. Like he is insane. And so again, if I want any of you guys to take something from this video, is this one thing. Is this one thing that these guys are beasts, and like everyone at Treyarch at the Zombie Studio is an absolute fucking beast. And I want everyone to give them the proper credit. They're an absolute fucking beast of a studio, for sure. Like they clearly have so much love for this game, for this, not even game. That's the thing, is that this is a game mode. This is a secondary game mode in a AAA title. Like it's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, that alone should tell you the amount of love they have for this particular, this storyline, this thing. So when I judge their kind of ending, I'm not judging it because of them. I'm judging it because this was not ever supposed to be the way it ended, ever, at all. And it just feels empty, and I just want to kind of put it into a video and just put the emotions that I think people are feeling into a video to maybe help them kind of get rid of them. Because I still feel bitter over the season 8 Game of Thrones, to be honest. Like I still feel bitter about that. Like that's a feeling that will never go away, even if it's just like media, even if it's just a TV show, it's just a game, you know, whatever. I understand, but it's like that feeling just doesn't go away. And I want this video to kind of maybe help others kind of come to terms with it, and just kind of like, all right, well, whatever, you know, it happened, you know, which is like Game of Thrones, you know, like, well, you know, it happened, you know, I am still a little upset, and if I ever meet fucking Dumb and Dumber in real life, I swear to God, I'm gonna let them fucking have it. I'm gonna throw George's fucking books at their fucking head. But yeah, again, like, even if I judge things like the fact that they showed Samantha in this new MPD, which they never addressed. They never addressed this one shot of Samantha in an MPD that we've never seen before. This is clearly not Moon. This is clearly not an MPD we've seen before, and they just never addressed it. Like they just never said anything about it. They have the Shadow Man in the game, the model in Blackout. They have the model for the Shadow Man, and they never used it. And that kind of, again, that kind of builds to this idea that this wasn't like he was supposed to get used at some point, in this entire thing, and maybe for a cutscene, maybe just that, but at least at some point he was supposed to get used, for sure. I don't know, you know, there's so many things that just kind of feel just up in the air, you know. Like the big one for me is the Richtofen one. The fact that they just never addressed Richtofen. Like Richtofen is the biggest, like pretty much the main character of the story, right? And the fact that they kill Richtofen in this incredible sequence, this climactic, I mean, this was a fucking climax right here. This is how you do climaxes right there. And in this climactic, like fucking crazy ass ending to Blood of the Dead. And it's like, and then the next map, they're just back. He's just back, and he just, no one knows where he came from. No one addresses anything. They're all just kind of like, oh, he's just there. And like Nikolai still doesn't say shit. Like he knows what, he has read the Chronorium. He knows everything that's going on. Who the fuck is this guy? Like, who the fuck is this guy? I think the point that we're going for actually is in the map Tiger and Tone. They talk about how Pablo gave the Fire Staff crystal to Primus Richtofen, to post Revelations Richtofen, so that he could do whatever, right? And they showed him, and if you actually look back at the Blood of the Dead part, when they show Primus Richtofen with the fire crystal, he's not wearing the tunic. He's not wearing the Primus, Great War tunic. He's wearing just his regular Richtofen clothes. So I think that's what they were going for there. I think this new Richtofen really is post Revelations Richtofen. But again, they just never addressed this. They just never addressed the fact that he's post Revelations Richtofen. Like what happened to the other guys? Like are they just dead? Like I don't understand. Again, there's so many loose ends, because now if this happens, it's like well, the other guys are still out there somewhere, you know, like even if this guy is dead, all the other guys are still out there. You know, you killed a random Richthofen from a random timeline, right? Or not from a random timeline, but from a timeline in the cycle. So it's like, now, not only are you now fracturing your universe, you're now fracturing their universe as well. So it's like, I don't understand, like it, because you're taking from one timeline and then you're taking from another timeline, and then you're now thinking that those both of those timelines go together. They don't. And so it's just like, I don't know. There's so many things that just don't make sense about this ending, and I just wanted to put it all together in one video. And I've already gone on for long enough, so I'm just gonna go ahead and just end the video. But thank you guys for watching. If you guys enjoyed, please like and subscribe. Let me know if you guys want me to do anything else. If you guys have any suggestions for me, any comments, any, you know, feedback to give me, for sure, I'll take it. And but anyway, thank you guys for watching, and see you guys in the next one. Peace.